All right, we're going to call the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Park District to order. First question, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving on to the consent agenda, which all of these items would have been handled and covered and discussed at the planning meeting, minus the minutes and the board bills. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion about any of the items on the consent agenda? Hearing none. Andrew, please poll the board.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Deutsch,
Aye.
Commissioner Apsey,
Aye.
Commissioner Rostad.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on to the regular agenda, item number 1 is the recognition of audience and public comments. We have no one signed up to speak today, so we are going to move on to item number 2, which is the director's report. Susan Foss.
Good evening, Commissioners. I have one update for you tonight. The staff have been working on our CIP process for this year. You know, we had just adjusted our timeline. Previous years, we've worked on the CIP at the same time that we've worked on our operational budget, and we made the decision to make that change for this year. So we started in early January. It was like a lead-in to how exciting it was when we got started. In early January, and our different departments put together their CIP list, and the deadline for our teams to have them submitted was the end of February. So the next steps for us is for the executive team to review all of the CIP projects that have been submitted, and then prioritize and rank those based on the updated and the new process that we implemented last year. So the executive team will take on that challenge, and we'll finish that by the end of March, just in time to start and kick off our budget process.
Susan, are those capital improvements that they're giving you, the lists, are they 2027 exclusively, or is it much longer range?
Much longer range. Really, the timeline goes out 5 to 10 years. And then what we will do is, you know, just based on funding, we'll identify what projects we will be able to accomplish in 27.
Okay. So some of them they're putting on the list knowing, hey, we don't need this in 27, but we want to give a heads up of let's plan ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you know, for us and for long range, you know, our financial plan, we have to, you know, really understand what we're facing with new projects, the deferred maintenance, and then any new additions. So.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Anybody have any questions for Susan or others? Okay. We're going to move on to our main event. That's what I'm going to call it anyway. Main event. FM Trailblazers. It's always nice when we get partners to come in and tell us what they're doing and how it's going and how we work together.
Yes.
So, welcome.
All right. This was supposed to turn green, wasn't it? Okay. That's red.
Red.
Well, Commissioners, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation to provide you with an update of what the Fargo Trail Builders have been doing in order to improve outdoor recreation for the citizens, residents of Fargo, and for visitors to our community. I'm the current president for the Trail Builders, and joining me this evening is Tim Krieg, our vice president. And you know, we are representing an enthusiastic group of outdoor people that whose mission it is to build, maintain, and also to promote natural surface trails in the Fargo-Moorhead area. And I'd like to emphasize that, you know, we're looking at natural surface trails. Susan and Dave and I met the other day, and when we talk about trails, I think a lot of people have a different idea of what a trail is. We are really focused on natural surface, you know, trails for hiking, biking, or simply just getting outdoors and enjoying nature. This marks our 16th year of being a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Tom Hellman founded the organization back in 2010, and we currently have 40 volunteers on our Microsoft Teams platform that help us in our work on the trails. The trails that we've been building can really be classified as cut, rake, and ride trails, which are very different to flow trails that one might see at Detroit Mountain or down in Bentonville that are machine built. So, after we've flagged a trail, we'll go in and cut, any tree limbs, any dead wood that's around on the trail. We'll remove that, rake the trail, and then basically we'll be able to ride the trail, shortly thereafter. And once we've done that, we'll then look at ways of improving the trail. So going in and doing some trail enhancements. This slide shows our current trail system in Fargo. And the map you're looking at on the north side, we're starting at 32nd Avenue South, just right there at Villa Maria. And that stretches down all the way to 58th Avenue South. And as the crow flies from 32nd to 58th Avenue, that's 2.5 miles. And what we've been able to do is build just over 10 miles of trail in that stretch. If you were to take your bicycle and ride down that paved trail that we have along University, you would actually have to cross traffic 12 times going there. So 24 times you would have to cross traffic if you were to ride on the paved trail. If you got on our natural surface trails along that stretch, you'd only encounter traffic at the Lions parking lot and down at the boat ramp at 52nd Avenue. Our first trail was built in 2017. So for the first 6 years, we only had trails in Moorhead. But then in 2017, we were able to open up our first trail at Iron South. And that was just under 2 miles that we were able to build there on the Catholic Health Initiative's property. And thanks to our partnership with Fargo Parks, we were able to do that. Our next extension happened in 2019 when we built Iwan North and also up to Lions Conservancy. And then following that, in 2020, we added for approximately 2 miles at the Lions, at Tower Loop, at the Forum Tower Loop. And then our big expansion happened in 2025 when we added the South River Prairie Loop on the north side. So that's in blue. That's our newest addition to the trail system. So in total, that's 10 miles of uninterrupted single track trail that we have built, and we maintain it annually with the help of Fargo Parks and our volunteers. So our next step is going to be away on the north side. We'll see the peninsula, on the Lemke Peninsula. We've already flagged an additional 2 miles in that area, and we're working with Fargo Parks. There's some areas they need to clear. There's a lot of buckthorn in that area. So as soon as they finished doing some of that, we'll reestablish our flagging and start building that trail this spring. So, the last time we met, we spoke about our plans for that South River Prairies trail. And we had applied for a grant through the North Dakota Parks, the RTP grant, and we were hoping to get that. And unfortunately, we did not qualify that year. But we also learned a lot from doing that, in that if we were to try and access federal funds, there were way more hoops we would have to jump through. We would have to work with the Army Corps of Engineers. The State Historical Society would have to come out and do digs. So in hindsight, we were, I'd say relieved, but we learned a lot, and we said, well, now that we don't have this grant, what can we do to get this trail built? And it's thanks to our partnership with Fargo Parks that we were able to do that, because during that time, the board had the foresight to create a position for a natural resource supervisor, which Alec Miller has taken that position, and he's really helped us in getting this trail built. Secondly, we partnered with Bobcat. One of our board members, Jason Pike, works for Bobcat, and we were able to use one of their community days of caring to come out and do some significant trail improvements once we had the trail established. So in building the trail at South River Prairie, we started off by flagging it. And then Fargo Parks were kind enough to come in with a a bobcat with a Fecon attachment that we were able to get the whole trail, basically get a rough cut done doing that. And that saved us 2 months of work. In one day, we were able to get that done with the Fecon attachment. And then Bobcat came in with a soil conditioner. There are lots of areas that are just, prairie grass, well-established grass. And the only way to get through that and to get down to clean dirt was with a soil conditioner. So Bobcat did that for us. And then we put our volunteers to work. We organized weekly trail work Wednesdays. And we got in there with rakes, with pruning shears, and we cleared the trail because we had a lot of stubble and sticks and that on the trail. So our volunteers helped us clear that out. And then in July of this year is when we had the big Bobcat Day where they brought out some of their equipment and we were able to stage some dirt, build some features like berms at the bottom of turns and also a few tabletop jumps. So thanks to our partnership with Fargo Parks and local businesses and our volunteers, we were able to get that trail built last year. We've also maintained the trail throughout the winter. We've groomed 4 miles around Lions Conservancy Park. Tim has been leading that, and we've maintained 4 miles. We've been biking every Wednesday. We'll have a night ride at Lions or up at MB Johnson. And for the 4 miles, we have spent 85 hours of grooming time keeping that trail open during the winter. So a lot of work has gone into providing outdoor recreation even during the coldest months of the year. That's just it's us having fun and the loop that we groomed during the winter. So what's made this trail system a success is really the proximity to having maintenance equipment close by. And thanks to the grant that we got a few years back through the Fargo Parks Foundation, we were able to purchase that shed, and we store most of our equipment in there, and that really makes it easy for volunteers to grab equipment. Even at night, Fargo Parks have given us a key to the gate, so we'll go in at 7, 8 o'clock at night, groom the trail, lock everything up, knowing that it's secure. And then this year, the Kilbourne Group and RDO were kind enough to donate the Broadway skate shack that they used at the downtown ice rink for a number of years. They were looking for a new home for that, and we worked once again with Fargo Parks to get that relocated from the Metro Rec Center and placed that right next to our storage shed at the maintenance facility. So we'll be putting some of our equipment in there and hope to also use it as a rally center for gathering with our volunteers. So we do thank RDO and Kilbourne for donating that container to us.
So you're not going to put ice on the trails and make it like crashed ice? No? No crashed ice? Just you
a
wouldn't
suggestion.
even have to change the logos on the building, on the windows.
So good idea. We'll look into that.
We're open to suggestions.
So how do we go about promoting? That's an important part of our mission, is to promote the trails. And we're currently using Facebook as our main way of getting word out to the community on what's happening on the trails. We also combine that with posts on Instagram. And then we use TrailBot as an app on our phones to alert people on current conditions for the trails. So at the moment, they are muddy. Although Tim did bike 10 miles today, but in the next few weeks, it's going to be icy and muddy, and we will alert everyone that the trails will be closed during that time. Most bikers and hikers often use Strava as an app. That's become very popular. So we'll also use that to promote the trails and the status of them. And then both Tim and I have been on radio a couple of times just talking about our trails in general. So that's ways that we go about promoting the trails. Also, still continue our strong connection with the high school mountain bike team, with the Northwest Composite Wolves. They train on our trails once a week during the summer, and then they drive out to Detroit Lakes on a Thursday to train with the kids out in Detroit Lakes. So that's where our future trail builders and outdoor enthusiasts will come from, is from the Northwest Composite Wolves. So our other important sponsors are Flatland Cycling. In the past, trail builders organized races as well, But what we've learned over the years is that, we're good at building and maintaining the trails. When it comes to putting on an event, you need a different skill set. People want to know exactly, their timing has to be correct. You've got to do a lot of promotion and course setup. So we've partnered with Flatlands in order to promote the trails on that side and put on our Monday night race series that usually happens in June over here at Lions, and then also the FM Duro. So Flatlands is our key partner for organizing races. I've mentioned Doosan Bobcat. They've been a great partner for us, the Wolves. And then Junkyard Brewing, both in West Fargo and in Moorhead. They brew a special beer for us every year, the Snow Stout Scout, and proceeds from every sale, some of that comes our way. And then we've also worked with Lake Agassiz's Pacers. They have an annual race, the Red River Run. And this past year, they raised money for the FM Trail Builders as part of the activities up there. So those are some of our key partners in the community. And don't forget Fargo Parks, and that's going to come up a few times still. So our finances, what do that look like? Our donations come from biking and outdoor enthusiasts in the community. We've had a few grants. I did mention the Fargo Parks Foundation grant. We did get a grant through Bobcat as well this year. We host an annual winter trail rally at Junkyard the first Thursday in December. We invite everyone to come out, and we'll give them an update on what's been happening on the trails and what we have planned for the future. And our budget typically runs somewhere between $8,000 to $10,000 a year is what we're spending on the trails, between new equipment that we might need, or just supplies, fuel, chains for the chainsaws, etc. So that's our budget at this point. So what do we see in the future? What does the future look like from our perspective? It's clear that the community are asking for more dedicated hiking, biking, and running trails. So people definitely are wanting that from Fargo Parks and from the trail builders. And I think the one big thing that we can do, or we need to do, is really elevate the status of our trails. And I think we can do that through better promotion. And part of that would be a simple thing as like you're having a trailhead at Lions, and understand that there are exciting plans in the pipeline for the Lions Conservancy area. I think having a nice trailhead like the one we built over at Moorhead, that's the photo on the right, where we worked with Moorhead Parks they purchased the materials and we built the trailhead. So I think when people show up, they need to know where they are and where the trails are. And once they're on the trail, I think we need good signage along the trail so that people don't get afraid that they're lost. They know exactly how far they've come and where they need to head to return back to the start finish. And then on both ends, I think it'll be good to have bookends on both sides, on the north side at Lemke and down at I-1 South, to have proper signage out there to promote the trails that way. I think that will go a long way. Our agreement with Fargo Parks and the city at this point is that we are unable to build any permanent features on the trail. So we can't just decide to build a trailhead. We would have to get that approved, or Fargo Parks would have to advocate for that on our behalf and get that done.
So you're not nailing signs to trees or anything?
No, we want to move away from that. If possible, use 4x4s, because we've had medallions on there and we don't want to damage the trees.
Thank you.
So, good point. I think people definitely want access. So we need more miles. And our meeting this past week with Susan and Dave, I think we're very open to working with Fargo Parks to develop a master plan of what do natural surface trails look like for our community in the next 5 to 10 years, and what is our role as we expand access to trails. But as we expand access, I think from our point of view, it's important to look at, okay, how do we maintain those trails? I think putting a trail in is one thing, another thing, maintaining that trail. And as I mentioned earlier, what works well for us at the moment is the fact that we do have equipment right at the trail that we can engage our volunteers with. Immediately, we don't have to spend hours carting equipment back and forth to maintain those trails. So yes, more trails are good, but how do you maintain them? People also want more smiles. So we got to think of, okay, when you're on that trail, what makes you happy? I mean, is it sections where there are no bikers, no frisbee golfers, and it's just nature? Or are you looking for certain features like a bridge, a roller? There's some examples that we've built up at Embry Johnson just to ensure that we don't damage the terrain. We've built some bridges. Nothing great, but very practical and exciting for people to try and cross that narrow bridge or to ride that wall on the back end over there. So small things go a long way in engaging people on the trail. So once again, we would like to see if there's an opportunity in working on in that master plan on areas where we would be able to build features to keep it exciting. Because no one wants to just ride trails for miles and miles without any excitement. And I took my bike out for a ride on Wednesday of last week when all the snow was melting. I wanted to get out, so I drove down to Lindenwood Park, and I came across the playground. And I thought, well, this is exactly a good analogy to use, because I think we have done a great job of building slides in our trails. We've got trails go between the trees, but if we had to build a playground that only had slides, I think we'd all realize we'd get pretty bored of that in no time. So there's a lot more that goes into designing a good playground, and there's a lot that goes into designing a good trail system. So we've got some slides. We'd love to have some more toys to play with. Like every kid, because I'm just a kid. So you've spoken about access or more miles and more smiles. One thing we're seeing in a lot of communities are people are building pump tracks where people can gather, where they can practice some of their skills, where kids can have fun. And as I was biking, I did go past the skate park here in downtown, and think of something like that, but specifically designed for bicycles. This one does well for skateboards and some bicycles, but the new pump tracks that a lot of communities are putting in are specific for biking. So thank you. I'm going to ask Tim to say a few words. He's a longtime trail builder. He also lives right next to South River Prairie, and he also has a few ideas on what he feels the trail system could look like.
Thank you, Lawrence. You did a wonderful job. And so I live right next to River Drive, and building that new South River Prairie section just brought the trail closer to my house. And so I was on the trail a lot, but I had to walk a block and a half down before I could get on it. And now I just go over the hill and there it is. And so I'm on this trail a lot. The neighbors know me as the trail guy. If they have any questions, they look for Tim, and I go talk to them all the time. And being down there all the time, I also run into a lot of people. I'm always talking to people. Plus, I'm a trail boss down there, and trail boss year round. Matter of fact, I was checking out the trail today, and it actually looked really good. I hopped on the bike and I went, I'm just going to go where the winter trail isn't. I'm going to do a summer ride, see how far I get. I did 10.5 miles. I did the whole summer trail today. So it's usable. It's great. I'm down there all the time. And we were very excited at the opportunity to do South River Prairie. That's a section that I thought was something that could be made to make that trail really big and really cool back in 2009 when they were doing a bunch of flood work down there. I was like, they had a bulldozer go through there, and I actually rode it from Lemke all the way to the boat launch. And I went, wow, how cool would that be if the trail ever happened? It did. We have that now, and that's just fantastic. It's great. We now have the longest consecutive trail system in Fargo-Moorhead. Like Lawrence was saying, it started with 2 miles up at Iowan South, and now with the addition of the Lemke, we're probably going to be sitting in that 12-mile range of continuous single track trail in Fargo. And that's huge. Deal Mountain, everyone's heard of their bike trails. You know how many miles they got? 13. You know how many miles? So 12, and no one knows about it. But Deal Mountain, they have the hill, and they have a little skills park. They promote it. It's a big deal. If Fargo wants this to be a big deal, it can be, because we've already been approached to go south, go into the Hector area, and maybe even beyond, maybe all the way up to Heritage Hills. Now we're talking 20 miles of single track. That's something to promote, something to where Fargo can go, wow, we got this. And we've laid down, Fargo Motor Trail Builders has laid down a really good foundation to get this thing kicked off. But I can tell you right now, like Lauren's mentioned, we do have 40 volunteers, but we don't have 40 guys out there working to do all the work. You know, out of the 40, there's probably 10 or 15 of us that are really rolling up our sleeves every week and going out there and doing some work. Now, when we find something, we need a project, we put it out there, people show up. I'm not trying to shortchange our volunteers, and people volunteer when they can. You know, I'm an empty nester. You know, I have more time to do this. I got to walk my dog every day out there anyway, so I'm out there all the time. And other people aren't in the same situation as a lot of us. But there are some opportunities where Fargo could be over the top great with these trails. I mean, no one has this kind of distance, but what the other places have that Fargo doesn't are features. In Moorhead, they can build the wood features. There's a wall in Moorhead that got built last summer that is so dang cool. You approach it, it looks like a fence, and you just come in, you just ride up it, ride down it, and it's smooth, it's safe, it's fantastic. They have a lot more just wooden jumps and things, and all these things are bypassable. You don't have to take them. So people that are skilled, that want to stay interested in the trail, they can hit these things. And other people that just want to ride on a single track, that's available too. Fargo, for the most part, all we have are the skilled people are just going to go faster. You know, we do have a few dirt jumps and things like that, but we don't have the big features that are really going to attract people from out of town. I mean, I was riding a couple weeks ago on a Wednesday night ride, and this guy, he goes, "So you in charge here?" And I went, "Yeah, I guess I am." You know, and he goes, "Well, I'm from Minneapolis. I heard there was trails out here. As a matter of fact, I heard it was 10 miles of single track." I said, "It is in the summer." I said, "We groom 4 of it." I said, "It's fun." And he goes, "Yeah, I was at the bike shop and they were talking up you guys." And I was like, "Okay, great. You know, join us." And he did, and he had a blast. But word of mouth kind of caught on, but it's not like Fargo is known for trails. And I'll tell you what, we start expanding south. There's that Hector area out there. I mean, Lawrence was talking about a pump track. He was talking about a skills park, you know, where that trailer court used to be in that area. That could be an excellent place for a pump track. And it's right next to single track that could be built. Now people are going to come out of town for all that. You know, now Fargo's got an attraction. So these are some things that, you know, just being on the trail, I know it well. I know what we have, but I also know what we don't have. You know, what would put Fargo on the map? And if that's important to Fargo Parks, it could probably happen within the next 5 years, 10 years. I mean, we've already been asked to go further south. And, oh, by the way, I also am a Fargo Parks employee now. So Lawrence and I and another fellow, we got hired as seasonal.
So that makes
help.
me your boss then?
What's that?
I said that makes me your boss then. Just kidding.
I
I'm
don't
just
think
kidding.
so.
No, you're right.
No, there's too many
You're
layers
smart.
between you.
Yeah,
I
you
think I'm
know.
safe.
Yeah, you're smart. You know.
but anyway, what that's allowed is it for us to actually use Fargo Parks equipment, chainsaws, the skid steer, the zero turn mower to maintain, and it's been great. And when we're doing that kind of work, I punch in. I'm a Fargo Parks employee. Today I had to do a bunch of trail cleaning while I was bike riding. I was an FM trail builder. I was volunteering. I just, you know, moved branches, moved limbs, and things like that. I'm on that trail a lot. I see the passion that Fargo Parks has for what we do. Alec Miller has been huge. When he and I blew holes to make that South River Prairie, I mean, called him up, said, "Hey, when you're ready?" He goes, "Well, how about tomorrow?" I was like, "Okay, that's great." And yeah, so it's been a really great partnership, and I know there is interest. But I just, in talking to Sam, so he wants to redo the Lions parking lot. Our South Fargo system is now called Lions because we just said, if we call it something else, people are just going to be confused. It's what we are. It's at Lions, so there it is. So we're trying to partner up, have FMTB be recognized in the kiosks and trail maps, maybe the web pages for Fargo Parks. So when people see these trails, they're known as Fargo Parks trails too. They're not just our stuff. We're not really being promoted by Fargo Parks. And if we do, then people are going to use this thing more. I'm still running into people in Fargo that say, wow, I didn't even know this trail was here. And we have 10 miles of it now. So I'm hoping our relationship grows. Fargo Park starts focusing on these trails on, what can we do to make it better? The All-American Trail just got started. That's a whole separate organization from us, but they're barking about more trails. I think, these natural surface trails, being out in the woods and everything, are very important to a lot of people. And I think we have some really good opportunities to keep growing. And also, we got to add features. We're adding a new park in West Fargo. West Fargo Parks is already wanting to build ramps and everything for these guys, for these hardcore mountain bikers. Moorhead has it at Goose, at Horn, MB Johnson. Come to Fargo. Oh, you can't do any of that. And I think we can. I think there's some compromises that can be done. I mean, we're told because of the flood stuff, these wood features could wreck things for the flood.
And Tim, I just want to interrupt you for just 1 second. You're accurate with everything you're saying, but part of the requirement is our partnership with the city of Fargo.
Right.
So we can't leave
I'm not
them.
blaming Fargo
No,
Parks.
no. But we can't leave them out of the equation. A lot of the land where the current trails are that Tim and Lawrence have discussed with us tonight are on City of Fargo flood buyout properties. And the no kind of structures within that area is specific language within their agreements. So in our recent meeting, we said we'd renew discussions with the City of Fargo and talk about, is there an opportunity to add in some of these features as they're describing? So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, thank
Thank
you. And I was not trying to
No,
in any way, but I'm just saying whatever avenue we have to take to get some of these no's turned into yeses, that's what I would love to see pursue and also be a part of.
Well, Tim and Lawrence, this was a great presentation. It's nice to know what you guys are doing. And, it's always fun when you see the passion of people in our community who want to make parks better, just like we all do.
Yep.
I mean, everybody's got the thing that they love. And if we all do our little bit, we end up with all kinds of great things like this. So I'm glad you've met with these guys, and that's, I'm sure, going to continue, and we'll keep moving in the right direction. But good presentation and good information.
All
So
right.
thank you guys very much for coming.
Okay, thanks for having us.
I do have a couple of questions. So, and I don't know, Tim, Lawrence, whoever,
Yep.
Your title is FM Trail Builders, and you talked about West Fargo more. How big is your geographic footprint? How many different government agencies, entities are you working with to build trails? Which said Moorhead, West Fargo. Just give us a sense of how big that is.
At the moment, the only trails systems that we've currently operate are in Fargo and Moorhead. And then West Fargo reached out last year, and we now have plans to build a 1 mile trail at Armour Park in West Fargo. So that is something new to us. We just got that agreement signed with West Fargo Parks. So that's our geographic reaches. Yeah.
And then just a follow-on question, how do you, and if it sounds like it's just three organizations, but how do you prioritize where you're going to put your resources, what you're going to do? What's your governance structure like to come to those? So this is our plan, like the CPI that Susan talked about earlier. Well, how do you come up with that for trail builders?
I'd say we've always followed the lead of what Fargo Parks would like, where they would like to have a trail established. I think that's where we've gotten most of our, say, drive to build a new trail. Like in West Fargo now, they approached us and said, we'd like for you to build a trail over here. So we have followed the lead of Fargo Parks on where we should establish a new trail.
We have asked Fargo Parks things and got things lined up, like Forum Communications that was privately owned. Even Iowa South is privately owned, and we initiated the conversations to make those work with these private organizations and brought Fargo Parks in for that too. And as far as work lists and things prioritizing on what we do, we have trail bosses at all the trail. So there's 2 trail bosses in Fargo. There's a trail boss in MB Johnson. Lawrence is a trail boss at Gooseberry. We have a trail boss at Horn, and now we have a new trail boss at West Fargo. And trail bosses, you know, they pretty much make the priorities on what we work on and bring out volunteers. And we have enough people where there's enough West Fargo people where we think they're going to support that just fine. In South Fargo too, and also in Moorhead.
Yeah, and you're talking more operational. I'm thinking more in terms of development and growth. And
I think that what I've come to realize is that as we've now reached the point after 16 years where we can't just continue saying, okay, let's build a trail here, let's build a trail there. It is going to take it's going to require a more comprehensive look at the region and say, okay, where do we need trails and how would we, as a volunteer organization, how do we fit into that master plan?
so your dance partner, if we can use that analogy, is like Fargo Parks, for instance, and they kind of lead and you follow, and that's kind of how things go. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
I would.
Or you suggest and we say, or yeah.
Or
Yeah, no,
it's
it's
the other
okay.
way around. Fargo Parks, you know, for instance, South River Prairie, you know, I wanted that for a long time, but I didn't even convince the Fargo Moorhead Trail Builders Board to pursue it. And I was in a meeting with Sam, and Sam goes, "Wait, what do you think about a trail going from, you know, the Forum Tower to Lemke?" I said, "What's that? No." And then he was meeting with Lawrence and Tom about an hour and a half later, and I said, "Just bring that up, but don't mention my name and see what they say." And that's kind of how that happened. So suggestions, and if it's in our wheelhouse, we'll pursue it. And if we get support from Fargo Parks and it's in our wheelhouse, it's going to happen. And that's kind of what's happening with the area down south to the Hector property. That was Sam and Alec brought that to my attention last fall. And, you know, we're still trying to finish the South River Prairie and the Lemke, and they're bringing that. I was like, wow. Okay, now we're getting to 15 miles of volunteer-only work. And so, yeah, but we'll see.
And with the new bridge going over at Blue Stem, they've already started some of that work. I met with Sean from Moorhead Parks last week, and we're going to have to do the same there. Is now figure out, okay, in 2 years' time, what do they want to see on that side of the bridge, and how does it all tie in? So it really is time to sit down and figure out what are the priorities, what are some of the freedoms and constraints, and where do we have property like, Cass County owns a drain just before the Hector property. How do we cross that type of thing? So I think it's going to take a more coordinated effort going forward to find out
Sure.
where to build the next trail.
Sure.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you, guys. Thanks for coming today. All right. Next item on the agenda is the Governance Committee update with Commissioner Rosted.
All right, so the governments met on Wednesday, February 25th. We had 3 different presentations that we went through. Stacy Dollar, new IT network person, took us through a security review. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. There's a lot of work she's done to move forward with the Fargo Parks infrastructure. She comes out of the banking industry, and obviously banks are very, very cautious and guarded in terms of online access, online control. So she's got a strong cyber background there. Talked about some of the improvements that were made to improve security. Talked about the threats that are out there, which are a lot. We're constantly getting bombarded with global attacks. A lot of threat actors out there trying to get in every single day. So you can't go to sleep at night without thinking about what's exposed. What can we do to take care of that? So then after that, we moved into Carolyn Boutain briefed us on several park ordinances. She went through from about 2000 to current, just reviewed and updated and modernized and simplified all the park ordinances that we have out there. Made sure they were aligned with City of Fargo ordinances, North Dakota Century Code. There's new things happening that we have to be thinking about, whether it's e-bikes, vaping, drones. So we have policy ordinances there to address some of that. And then lastly, the committee talked about, we don't have any formal written policy for commissioner compensation. And so the staff is going to go back and take a look at that and come back with a potential draft of the commissioner compensation policy. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Next one on the agenda is the planning committee update, which is me. And as you guys know, most everything we talk about ends up on the agenda for an action item, or otherwise, most of these were addressed in the consent agenda. The first thing we discussed, though, Kelly came from Courts Plus and gave us a presentation on just kind of current status, numbers, how they're doing with maintenance, project lists, that kind of thing. Different things they're doing with surveys and other things regarding usage. We had a presentation from Craig Buer, our foundation director, who talked about the charitable gaming funds and really looking for input from us as far as where we want the funding to go. Now that we're kind of got the ball rolling, it's where our priorities. We kind of left it pretty open-ended until we really know where we're going to be funding-wise. I think there was a pretty good consensus, though, that the use of it for scholarships as a main basis right now is a good thing. We've seen obviously a huge increase in scholarships, and with the including adults in scholarships for the city of Fargo residents, that's obviously going to continue to increase. So it's kind of a stay tuned topic. And then everything else from the fence improvement project bids, the shelter improvement project bids, parking lots, trails, sidewalks, road replacement, security staffing, which is for this building, all of those bids, we were shared the information and who they recommended for the bids. There was a request for us to apply for a Garrison grant, which, is always nice when people are looking for us to say, hey, can we go out and try and get some money? Absolutely. And then we just had a few others at the end of it. We've had a few issues with some roof leaks and just the warranty work, just basic things keeping us up on what's going on. And then we've got some playground projects coming up and looking at getting some community engagement for those. And then the last item was just a update on Giving Hearts Day for Valley Senior Services and the foundation. So last item is
Hold on,
adjourned, but
can we-
does
hold
anybody
on?
have something
Yeah.
else?
On the planning committee, on the Courts Plus update, couple of months back, we had a little bit of a kerfuffle on what was constituted or defined as, training somebody, because we have trainers on staff. And so we said at that time that we would take a look at the policy. I just want to get it in the record that we did have reviewed the policy and we're comfortable with the language, the way it's stated. So I just want that on the record.
Sounds good. Anybody else have anything else for the good of the order? Okay, if not, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So move.